My name is Carla. I am the Stitchy Witch. I live in Scotland, and I'm here just to talk a little bit about this cross-stitch kit which I have. Many of you will recall that in my last or previous video I was stitching on this one, and prior to that I was talking about my cross-stitch kits, and I was specifically looking at this one, and I don't know if some people noticed, but I was sort of taking a look at the center of this chart because I had a feeling, and I didn't know whether I was correct or not at the time. I had a feeling that I might have miscalculated the center point of this chart. Yes. But for some reason, I did a very quick sort of guesstimation whilst I was recording. And I thought, no, actually, it's okay. Well, guess what, guys? It's not okay. I don't know what made me just stop stitching the other night and take a closer look at the measurements of this. But something said to me, I think you should just maybe go back and check it, right? Because if for any reason you have made a mistake, there's no point continuing stitching until you've realized, you know, what's happened. I mean, I know this has never happened to me before. I've always double checked, triple checked, so I don't know what happened. But basically, for some reason, I haven't measured it correctly, and I'm not at the center point. So I'm going to go into Firstly, apologise for the hoop marks. I do use hoops for the kits. I find it easier to use than Q-snaps. It just fits better on my Lowry stand. And also I find them less weighty. They're less heavy than the Q-snaps, the hoops. So that's what I tend to use for the smaller pieces like this. But anyway, moving forward, this design comes in 8 pages like this, because I've written it down here. So this is the order. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4 at the top, 5, 6, 7, 8 at the bottom. So basically, normally you start at the very middle of the design. I mean, you can measure the design area and start in the top left if you want to, but I didn't do that. I decided to start in the very center of the design between the 2 and 3 and 6 and 7, which kind of makes sense to me. And then you kind of branch outwards and go in any direction you want. So I don't know what happened, but for some reason I messed up on the counting. So basically this design is 30, this is what it looks like. So this is 30 by 40 centimeters here, right? So I don't think I measured that. I think I just folded the piece into 4 parts equally, exactly. And then I put a pin right in the very center. So that's the very middle of this fabric. And I think that was my error, because I didn't actually properly get a measurement. So 30 by 40, 40 being the longest area, we're talking about 40 centimeters being roughly between here and here. Okay. Now, if you were to leave, they don't give you much space either side of here. So we've got 47.5 approximately. So the middle of that, I cannot do math. I honestly cannot do math. So middle of 47.5, I don't know. But let's just fold this over and see how much half of this fabric is. That'll be easier for my brain. Because I have actually serged the ends, so that I've serged around the edges, so that makes a difference. So it's 24. So I'm going to assume 24 is the middle point. Okay. So 24 being the middle point. The middle point of this fabric is here, where my finger is. And that roughly comes down to, let's go to more or less the middle point of here, because I'm more interested in the left to right. I think the top to bottom, I assume the top to bottom is okay. I think I'm going to check that as well. But from left to right, we said 24. And let me just measure top and bottom for a second. That's 19. So 19 down is here. Yeah, 24 across. So we're talking about there being the center point. So we're looking at just on the right side of this, what looks like a window, a lit window. That's the middle point there. And I think what I've done is I've taken the middle point to be an inch over, because it's definitely not. It's 40 inches. Yeah, I have gone too far to the right. So basically what I did then was I got to this point, and that's when I stopped and thought, you know what? There's still an awful lot of stitching to go before I get to the end. So I counted carefully all the stitches from that particular point to the end of the page and found out that it ends here, right? But I measured from there to the other end, and then it was clearly wrong, because 40, look how much space I've got on this end. Not a huge amount, but yeah, at least another inch. So I've done an extra inch, gone an extra inch to the right. Now they don't give you a huge amount of space to begin with, but as you can see, if I move it over, that's where my end point is on this side, and that's where my end point is on this side. Gosh, it's fiddly. So I've definitely made a mistake. Right, okay, so with that established, now I'm thinking to myself, what do I do? Okay, so let's see how much space I've actually got on this side. So if I flip this over and I look at the piece that I turned and sewed up the edging, if I can see through where I've put that pencil mark just there. So my pencil mark, let me just get this again, is not going to hit that serged edge, because it is about, I can't see with that gold bit there, it's about ½ an inch away from the serge. How lucky is that? I mean, seriously, I made a mistake and I managed to get a ½ inch leeway before it hits the serged bit, which is about, so it's stopping there. So I've got ½ an inch. So I can stitch on it. Do you agree? I can still stitch on it. The only thing I'm going to have is this whole design. When I finish stitching it, it's going to hit all the way up to here. But it's fine, because I've already turned over the edge. I'm not going to run into that. I've still got ½ an inch. The only issue is the framing issue, because you're never ever going to be able to frame something with that tiny little bit there. However, is that the worst problem in the world? Because I know, although I'm not hugely experienced with kits, I do know that people add extra material to the edges. Excuse me. I always get very dry throat when I talk too much. So when people add extra, and I can do that, I have a sewing machine, I can sew extra fabric along each edge, and that would be good for framing. So my husband says to me, you're fine, you can continue as long as you've checked the top and the bottom, which I'm sure I've checked. So basically, if I've got 40 centimeters from left to right, there, how many stitches do I have from top to bottom is the question. So if you give me a second, I'll find that out. So basically from here to the top, approximately 20 stitches, okay? 20 stitches. 1, 2, 3. Please tell me I've got space here as well. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Okay, so here basically. So if I put this here, I have that much space left, which is fine. I think that's fine. I think that's probably what it was supposed to be. So 20 stitches more at the top to hit the top of the chart. And let's have a look, because that now should be, if it's 40 across and it's 30 centimeters down, and I said about there, didn't I? More or less. 20 stitches, 30 down. Yeah, it's going to give me roughly the same amount at the bottom. So I'm okay from top to bottom, and I am okay from left to right. I'm just pretty annoyed with myself that I didn't double check that. And I did have, I got a gut feeling when I was showing it in my video, and I think, well, if you watch the video, you go back and watch the video, I'm like, did I start in the center or am I a little bit to the right? I was thinking it looks a bit, I don't know, there's something about it that's off. But then I wasn't going to start counting and, you know, checking thoroughly whilst I was recording. So I just thought, oh, you know, I did like a very quick check and I thought it was okay, but it obviously wasn't. So basically, yeah. Basically, I'm all the way over to here. Now, I don't really want to start again because I've done a good bit here. It would mean another few weeks, another couple of weeks of stitching just to get back to this bit. And as I've realized, I haven't hit the serged edge at all. All I need to do, I think, is to add a bit of material at the end if I want to frame it. When I come to this point, I mean, if it had gone over any more of this, I would seriously be like, uh-oh, no, this has got to be a restart. But when it hit just there, I thought, oh God, it's tight. It's like that. But it's still doable. I can still continue stitching. It's just going to be very close to the edge. That's pretty much it. And now that I've actually gone and sewn all the edges, I'm not going to get much fraying going on. So I think what I should do is hopefully on the weekend, if I can get my sewing machine out, is just quickly run some fabric on the edge here and make it a bit longer. And that will really help if I go to frame it or whatever. So that's my thoughts on this. I don't know what you think. Maybe some of you would just go, oh my God, it's too much for me. I have to start again, which is fine. I mean, some people will probably find that the best way to do it. I would do anything to not start it again, simply because I think I would rather be dragged along the street in a horse-drawn carriage and quartered and my body sent to all parts of the country. Well, maybe that's being a little bit, maybe that's being a little bit too dramatic. But yeah, I would do anything to not start it again. So I think that, I'm not trying to be funny, but I think I'm just okay. I checked with my husband. He says, yeah, I think you're going to be okay. But any more, like 3 more squares over that would have started to be a bit more terrifying. So let me just see again what looks like the middle of this part. See, when I did it on the actual chart, I don't know, maybe I can just show you here just a tiny bit, maybe not, maybe just a tiny bit into focus. You get these 2 arrows here, these 2 arrows, and you line them up. So here's the right arrow and here's the left arrow, which is what I did. And I got to this point here and I said, that's the middle, that's the middle. So that part is actually in between these 2 windows. That's in between these 2 windows here. So that is the middle, somewhere there. So why did I start in the middle over here? I don't know. I don't know why I did that. So guys, I've put 4 days of work into this this month already. As I said, I was going to do my 4 kits for the whole of April. I've written down on a notepad what it is I've been doing. So I've been given about 1 hour to 2 hours on my project, on my kits every day. And it's not a huge amount. I mean, 1 hour goes in like 5 minutes, guys. It really does. It's amazing how quick 1 hour is. You just sit down, start stitching between one thing and another and having to get up and, you know, do a little errand or go to the bathroom or whatever it is. You find that you've hardly got anything done. But you know, at least you've put the time aside for it. So I managed to get done a bit more of the clouds so far, and I think I worked a little bit more on this end. So I've now moved on to Gracious Era, which is the second kit that I showed. That's the one I'm going to be working on for the next couple of days. So I don't know if I'm going to get a chance to go back to this one by the end of April, because I don't know. But yeah, I did put my few days into it, as I said, and then I realized that I had this issue, and then I got annoyed and irritated, and then I just stuck it back into the corner of the room and thought, well, you know, I need a bit of time out now that I've discovered I've done the wrong measurements. I need time out. As you can see, I've done a little bit more going this way. It's only when I got to this point that I was alerted, because I thought that looks really small compared to what's left on the sheet. And then I was like, oh my God, you know that moment when your heart stops beating and you think, oh no. I'm sure it's happened to everybody at some point. So from that going forward, I think once that happens to you, you start measuring really, really carefully from then on, and make sure that you really, 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 really do measure more than once, twice, 3 times, 4 times if necessary. But thankfully it's not a huge chart, so I'm saved. So there we have it. Let me know what you think. Has this happened to you before, and have you continued stitching, or have you restarted? Have you given yourself, have you actually continued with less space than this? Pretty much got half an inch. Pretty much got half an inch until I reach that flap underneath, the edge of the flap that's folded over. So how many stitches is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. About 10, 11 stitches we've got there before to reach that edge. So I think it's okay. I think it's okay. I don't know why I feel like even if I continue stitching on it, I still feel like a little bit like, oh my God, what if it doesn't work? But we've just looked at it, haven't we? We've just looked at it. Please reassure me it'll be okay. And I'm okay top to bottom. If I hadn't turned this over and this was the very edge piece with all the frayed bits coming out, and I still had to turn it, it would look like that. And it just wouldn't work. See there? So the stitching would come right up to the edge of the flap underneath, and it would be very messy, very messy. You'd be surprised how half an inch can save your life. Isn't that funny? How just half a little inch can save your life between a UFO and a restart and everything. That half an inch makes a huge difference. So that's it. That's what I wanted to come on for, to talk to you about this crazy discovery that I made the other night. But yeah, so let me know what you think and what you've done with your kits or with your fabrics. And I'm sure some of you, I remember listening to some of you on FlossTube saying that you'd got a whole lot more work done before you realised. I don't know why I laugh, because it's not funny at all. Before you realised that you haven't had enough fabric at the end. And I know some people have got into a big pickle with that, but and still been able to save it or something, been able to add fabric. So I think I'm okay. I do think I'm okay. Let me know what you think. Thank you for watching, and I look forward to hearing your views about this chart. And I'll be back again soon, guys.